Oh my god. I've been eating so much KFC lately. I don't know why. I don't know why I do this to myself. I know it's terrible for me. I want to get in shape, but I just can't do anything about it, can I? If I keep this up, I feel like I'm gonna end up like that bloody globber glob thing from that dead meme.
Schwabble double glibber glabber schwibble schwab glub. Dibble double shwibble shwabble glibber glab schwab. Schwabble double glibber.
Anyway, that's not why you're here. Is it? You're here because I'm talking about my anticipated releases for 2019, and yes, I realize it's quite late to be making this video apparently. Everyone else was dropping this video on like the fucking 1st of January. But you know what, perhaps that's just part of my strategy. I wait just long enough for people to forget about the books that are coming out in 2019 and then, boop, slide into the subscription feed. Anyway, it's not a super long list, but I have a number of books here and a number of comics as well that I'm excited for in the course of the rest of the year. I'm going to try and do them in order, but I may have got them a bit muddled along the way. It's just, forget about it. Today's video is sponsored by the Oxford Comma, grammar's bad boy. Mind you, I said grammar there. Grammar, not grandma. Although, look, grandma's probably got one of those as well. The first book I'm excited for during the year of 2019 is probably the most hyped book that's going to be on this list at all, and that's Black Leopard, Red Wolf by Marlon James. I very rarely get hype for an upcoming release. Most of the books I find and enjoy are just random finds. That's just kind of how I operate. Not by choice, but the cover for this book did catch my eye, and I have seen it in a few of the other 2019 release videos I've seen as well. Like I said, I think it's the most hyped one I've got on this list. And for good reason. It's a fantasy / sci-fi, that's the genre that it's been put into. But the most interesting part about this, it's that, well, I'm just going to read the description out for you first of all. So the synopsis for this story says, Tracker is known far and wide for his skills as a hunter, and he always works alone. But when he is engaged to find a child who disappeared 3 years ago, he must break his own rules, joining a group of 8 very different mercenaries working together to find the boy. That's the first bit that intrigued me, because I love stories where it's a group of very different individuals, strangers to each other, bonding over a journey or an experience. It's something I've said in plenty of my other videos, and it's something that was an inspiration in my writing when I did my first book. I've mentioned it a number of times. I wanted to write a story about strangers, or small core group of strangers who get together, have very different and sometimes clashing personalities, but they bond over an adventure. Anyway, going on, it says, following the lost boys sent from one ancient city to another into dense forests and across deep rivers, Tracker starts to wonder, who is this boy? Why has he been missing so long? Why do so many people want to keep Tracker from finding him? And most important of all, who is telling the truth and who is lying? Drawing from vivid African history and mythology, Marlon James weaves a saga of breathtaking adventure and powerful intrigue, a mesmerizing, unique meditation on the nature of truth and power. Whew! So it's the first book in what is going to be a trilogy called the Dark Star Trilogy. Obviously, as you just heard, the synopsis sounds extremely interesting. But the one thing that really put this on my anticipated releases list was that it says drawing from African history and mythology, because, again, referring to my past writing, mythology and legends, or just mythos in general, is super interesting to me. Well, it's interesting to a lot of people, but I have a particular interest in it. That's a number of the tattoos I've got are from Greek mythology. The story I wrote draws inspiration from a lot of mythology from different cultures. I think I had some Eastern, some European, etc., etc. But when I read this and I really thought about it, I was like, I have no knowledge of any African history or mythology. And that's not because I've been avoiding it or anything like that. It's just I've never been exposed to it. And I guess realistically, I never thought that at this point in my life, 20 years on, 20? You're 25, Chief. I wouldn't have been exposed to it, so I just kind of never thought about its existence at all. What I'm trying to say is that I don't think I've ever read a story drawing from African mythology, and I'm very interested to do that. Black Leopard, Red Wolf actually comes out tomorrow. Shit. 5th of February, so it's probably going to be later than that when you watch this video, but yeah, it comes out tomorrow. Might be a good read during Black History Month. I think the timing on that's actually perfect. I Like to Watch by Emily Nussbaum. I got it right here, Nussbaum. I hope I'm saying that right. I mean, she's the winner of a Pulitzer Prize, so I probably look pretty silly if I'm getting it wrong. So yeah, the book's called I Like to Watch, Arguing My Way Through the TV Revolution. Again, the synopsis is pretty long-winded, so I'm not going to go all into it. You can check it out if you want to. But essentially, it's, from what I gather, it's a number of essays providing an analysis on the rise of television and the things that it brought with it. Specifically, the themes that television brought with it on its rise to power, and maybe the perspective from television on existing themes in doing so. From what I understand, Emily is doing a number of essays through the lens of television on topics such as, separating the art from the artist. Can you enjoy the art if the artist is a piece of shit? Sexual violence on television and whether it does or doesn't have an impact on the outside world, etc., etc. I'm just really interested in that because I feel like television is something that to this day still kind of gets looked on as being this just bad thing. And I mean, if you're talking in extremes, obviously someone who sits in front of the TV all day, every day, doesn't have a social life, you could probably see that as a bad thing. But I think even in that example, that's more a reflection on the person's personality rather than television itself. I think television is a fantastic way to consume content, consume entertainment and educational stuff all in one. I think it's great. I think television is amazing. And it's just kind of annoying when people talk shit on television like they think they're better than that, Like, excuse me, but climbing a mountain that's had a hiking trail on it for the last 50 years doesn't make you better than someone who decides to stay home and watch a few episodes of Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Step it up, find something new. You're boring.
Emily's book comes out on June 25th this year, so keep an eye out for that if that sounds like something you would be into. Anyway, the next one that I'm excited for, one that I am really excited for, I'm just going to say right now it's by Joe Hill, so that's why. I know I talk too much about Joe Hill on this channel. Well, I'm doing it again, so bite me or fight me. Now, I don't know if I did or didn't find an actual cover for this book. It's called Full Throttle by Joe Hill, because I found this one on this cover picture on Google Images, but then when I go into all the official websites for this book, there's no cover, so I don't know what the deal with that is. But simply put, it's a collection of 11 short stories by Joe Hill, some of them in collaboration with his good old dad, Stephen King. Maybe you've heard of him. I'm not really sure what the theme of these short stories are going to be, except that one's called Full Throttle and another one's called In the Tall Grass. But if it's anything like the book of short stories I read last by Joe Hill, Strange Weather, I'm really excited. They were fantastic short stories and just felt larger than life for the short length at which you read them. I'm not going to go into a whole review for them because I've done that a million times. But as of right now, that book of short stories, Full Throttle, is slated to come out on October 17th, later this year. So towards the end of the year, son of a bitch. Now this next one. This is the one that I am truly hyped for. This is the one where when I saw it, I actually felt a spike in my adrenaline. I am genuinely and severely excited for the release of this book. As soon as it comes out, I'm going to be straight into it. The book's called Recursion, and it's by Blake Crouch. You might remember in 2017, my top book for that year was Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. And this story, it isn't a sequel to that, but it feels very similar. Something else that's kind of exciting is, I was in a book club when I read Dark Matter. It was called Read, React, Repeat with my friends Clara from Clara Reads Books and Aaron from Aaron and Beta, which is now a tech channel. Traitor. But we were talking and we're thinking of doing just a one last reunion kind of Read, React, Repeat live stream discussing this book after we read it. So for the real OG Wolfshot Publishing watchers, that might be exciting for you as well. More recently, during 2018, some of my very top picks for the year were the Wayward Pine series. Obviously didn't come out in 2018, that's just when I read it. But I read the Wayward Pine series during 2018. Absolutely fantastic. So far, everything I've read by Blake Crouch has been just 10 out of 10. His grip on suspense and just sci-fi thriller is phenomenal. Anyway, I'm going to read you out the synopsis for this one, and I think that will do more than my words can in terms of getting you hype. Let's get hype, guys. Oh yeah, recursion, baby. So here it is. What if someone could rewrite your entire life? My son has been erased. Those are the last words the woman tells Barry Sutton before she leaps from the Manhattan rooftop. Deeply unnerved, Barry begins to investigate her death, only to learn that this wasn't an isolated case. All across the country, people are waking up to lives different from the ones they fell asleep to. Are they suffering from false memory syndrome? A mysterious new disease that afflicts people with vivid memories of a life that they never lived? Or is something far more sinister behind the fracturing of reality all around him? Miles away, neuroscientist Helena Smith is developing a technology that allows us to preserve our most intense memories and relive them. If she succeeds, everyone will be able to re-experience a first kiss, the birth of a child, the final moment with a dying parent. Barry's search for the truth leads him on an impossible, astonishing journey as he discovers that Helena's work has yielded a terrifying gift. The ability not just to preserve memories, but to remake them, at the risk of destroying what it means to be human. So simply put, the story sounds like it is about basically everyone kind of waking up and believing that they are from lives different from that which they woke up to. Like, imagine the movie Total Recall, but on a global scale. And tell me that doesn't sound fucking amazing. I don't know, the story just sounds incredible. I have a limitless amount of faith in Blake Crouch's writing. I'm still going to try to be critical when I read it, but so far I have a lot of faith in his writing. He's proven himself to be a good writer. That one comes out on June 11th, and good God, I wish it would come out sooner. I'm really excited to read that. I'm going to give an honorable mention to a book. Well, it's a bit of a deviation from the course. Technically, it's non-fiction. This one comes out on March 26th, and it's The Elder Scrolls, the official cookbook. I kind of want to buy this just because I think it would be funny if I was to bring a date home and I'd cooked a medieval feast. Yeah, I know it would be cringy as hell and it would probably ruin the date, but it would be funny, so worth it. Ah, yes, hello. Welcome to my humble abode. Allow me to bequeath unto you a feast, my queen. I have provided you the splendors of my garden. Yeah, I think I get why I'm single. Moving on to the comics section, we have a remastering of sorts of the comic series Sons of Anarchy. It's a TV show I thoroughly enjoyed. From the outside looks like a super macho, manly show, but to be honest, and I can say this as a diehard fan of Sons of Anarchy, it's really just desperate housewives with motorcycles. This one's coming out on February 12th, and like I said, it's just a remastering of the stories of Sons of Anarchy through a graphic novel setting. I'm probably mixing up comics and graphic novels, and I know that pisses a lot of people off. Sorry. I am sorry! I'm interested in reading these because I feel like through being able to use a narrative as freeing as graphic novels, I'm hoping to get a bit more story and depth to the characters that I've come to love and watched die. Then we have Rick and Morty vs. Dungeons and Dragons, and yeah, I know there's a lot of memes. I'm so intellect for liking Rick and Morty, blah blah blah. I like Rick and Morty. I don't play Dungeons and Dragons, but I thoroughly enjoyed that episode of Community where they do Dungeons and Dragons, so mixing those two things together seems pretty interesting to me. Which is a bit meta in itself because one of the guys behind Rick and Morty, Dan Harmon, was the guy behind Community as well, so God, I've dug myself into a bit of a rabbit hole here. Rick and Morty vs. Dungeons and Dragons, the main reason I'm excited for this is because the author is Patrick Rothfuss, the author of The Name of the Wind. So he's a very prolific fantasy author. So seeing him take the reins on something like, Rick and Morty in the Dungeons and Dragons universe, win-win, surely. That comes out March 12th. Last but not least, it's more so a book of illustrations that I'm really excited for. I don't believe it actually has the story itself in it, but it's called Middle-earth Journeys. Ooh, bit of a blowout there. Middle-earth Journeys in Myth and Legend, described as being nearly 200 paintings in the Middle-earth universe. Middle-earth and the stories of Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit, etc. is obviously known for being so just cinematically beautiful, even in the writing. So seeing people take creative freedom in that universe, which is something that's been done for decades now, in the form of paintings is pretty exciting. Having a collection of those, nearly 200 of them in book form, I think would be pretty cool to have on the shelf. But yeah, that one's April 9th. But there you have it. There's all of the books and comics and graphic novels, whatever. There are all of the bound pieces of paper with ink on them that I'm excited for during the year of 2019. So far, anyway. Like I said, I don't really get hype for books like a lot of other people. That's just me personally. But I'm pretty hype. I'm pretty damn excited for some books this year. God, Recursion is just going to be amazing. I cannot wait to review that book. I'm going to do I feel like I want to do a thing around that book, like some kind of, well, like I said, we're going to be getting the book club hopefully back together for that one book. So we might make an event kind of thing around it. It could be fun. Maybe do a giveaway or something like that. If there's any that are similar to the books I've mentioned that I haven't spoken about, feel free to recommend them in the comments below, because chances are I just don't know about them. I'm feeling a lot of sci-fi thriller, dark sci-fi thriller this year, I think. That's a genre that's really hard to find good authors in, but when you do, it's just... oh, that sounded way too sexual. I'm so sorry. Anyway, that's a good time for me to wrap it up. Catch ya.